Hey, you guys. I am Elizabeth Crawford, Integrative Nutrition Health Coach and Essential Oil Specialist. And I'm going to share a really short presentation with you today around having a better relationship with food. Some of the things I'm going to talk about is my food story. I'm going to touch on the intuitive eating approach. We're going to talk a little about mindset over matter and how to balance the equation after we indulge. So here we go. This is me, little old me, age 18 and younger. Was very active, very athletic, and very tall, and not a lot of meat on my bones. So the reason I'm showing you this is because body shame issues come in all shapes and forms. And I grew up with a lot of really, really negative mindsets around body, mostly from the influential women in my life. So as you're listening to this, I encourage you to think about how you present your body image to the people around you. And is it healthy? Is it good for your mindset? Is it good for the mindset of the people around you? So I was surrounded by women who were dieting. My sisters, my mother, my girlfriends in school, everyone was wanting to lose 10 or 15 or 20 pounds. Oftentimes my mother would take a picture. Well, the few times she would wind up in a picture, she would look at it and go, "Oh, you've put on so much weight in the last couple of years. I'm terrible. I don't even want to look at it." And I look back at those pictures now and she was so beautiful. And it really, really just sticks with me. So this idea around my mother's self-judgment equaling judgment of me is really kind of interesting. So in my thought process, what I've learned or what I absorbed was that if my mother's body's shape changed, that meant that she had judgment over herself for that happening. And that if my body was to change, that I should judge myself as well, and that she would also judge me, so that I would be less worthy, less lovable, less special if my body changed. And what happens inevitably as we grow older, our body is always changing. So this is a really interesting lesson for me to reflect on and learn every time my body changes. But I grew up with a lot of body shame because I was so skinny. I was very, very ashamed of my body because all I wanted was to look like the other girls, to have hips and to be able to shop at Victoria's Secret and just look a certain way, a way that was attractive to boys. I didn't feel necessarily attractive, and I didn't feel like I was like the other girls. So I didn't really feel like I fit in that area either. So all this to say that we have body shame no matter what our bodies look like. Body shame really knows no boundaries. It does not discriminate. And we all grow up with some type of trauma around our body image. And it's interesting to see how this relates to our food decisions. So for me, at ages 20 to 30, when my body did start to change, I was very much concerned about my body changing in the way my mother's body had changed. And then I would be receiving that judgment or that, achieving that body shape that was less worthy of love, that was just not the ideal, not what we wanted, right? So a lot of food restriction around that mentality when my body did begin to change. So let's talk about it. I just want to have the conversation, right? Like, I'm not sharing the story with you for any sort of sympathy or I don't know. I just want to make sure that the conversation's happening and everyone's a part of it. So let's talk a little bit about this really cool idea of intuitive eating. Some of the information I'm going to share with you today is from this book called Intuitive Eating, A Revolutionary Anti-Diet Approach. And this is written by the founders of the intuitive eating diet, quote unquote, although it's the non-diet diet. And it's based on, I think, 8 principles, which I'm not going to go over all of them. I will read them to you though. Oh, sorry, there's 10. So just to go through the principles really quickly: reject the diet mentality, honor your hunger, make peace with food, challenge the food police, discover the satisfaction factor, feel your fullness, cope with your emotions and kindness, respect your body, movement, feel the difference. And then the last one is honor your health with gentle nutrition. This is principle 3, and it's make peace with food. And I just wanted to share this with you, drop this little nugget. And if you're interested in learning more about this approach, feel free to get the book. And there's a lot of really great influencers on Instagram. One of my favorites is Find Food Freedom. But this is how principle 3, make peace with food goes. Call a truce, stop the food fight. Give yourself unconditional permission to eat. If you tell yourself that you can't or shouldn't have a particular food, it can lead to intense feelings of deprivation that build into uncontrollable cravings and often binging. Been there. When you finally give in to your forbidden foods, eating will be experienced with such intensity, it will usually result in a Last Supper, overeating, and overwhelming guilt. So who has experienced this? I know that I have eliminated entire food groups from my diet for extended periods of time to help heal my gut, which was therapeutic, not a life sentence or a long-term practice. And I have to say that I have experienced this, where once you tell yourself you can't have it, that's all you can see, it's all you can smell, it's all you want, right? So this is very, very real. And when we have these rules that we're following with food, where we can't have certain foods because they're considered bad, this need and want for them builds up and builds up and builds up until we can't control ourselves, and then we're over consuming it. And then that's where the problem is. That's why this presentation is called Eat the Cupcake. I have to admit, I did have 2 cupcakes last night. I was at a party and they were delicious, and I did not hold back, and I didn't talk negatively to myself while I was enjoying my cupcake. And that's what I want for you guys. I'm not saying that cupcakes are something we should have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but if we are never allowing ourselves to have said cupcake, or to have cupcakes in the house, or to abstain from having cupcakes at a birthday party or a Christmas party, then we are going to hit a wall. We're going to want that thing just because we can't have it, and then go completely overboard. And life's all about balance, and full restriction is not balance whatsoever. So what I'm encouraging is for you to have a little bit of flexibility with the food rules, if you are following some type of food rules, so that you can experience these amazing treats that we have access to, because they are not good or bad. Food is not a moral issue. If you've eaten a cupcake, it doesn't mean that you were bad, and that you should go to jail, or that you should feel guilt. You have nourished your body, and the next step after that is to learn from that. What did I experience? Did it enhance my time and my experience with the people I was with? Or did I eat the cupcake because I was lonely and feeling down? There's 2 different energies around that. So really interesting. I want to share this with you. And this comes from an article written by the founder of the Institute of Psychology of Eating. And it's really, really interesting what happens with nutrients when we put them in our body based on what our mindset is. So aside from eating, let's just talk about mindset for a second. So in 1983, there was a chemotherapy treatment experiment where they gave half of the patients a placebo, and the other half chemotherapy. 31% of those placebo patients lost their hair. They were injected with a saline solution. And it was the mindset that I'm taking chemo, I'm going to lose my hair, I'm going to have all these things happen to my body that created that exact result. Wild, wild, wild information. And these things are documented all over the place. So the power of your thoughts are really more powerful than the actual nutrients in the food that we're putting into our body. 35, the article goes on to say too, that 35 to 45% of all prescription drugs may owe their effectiveness to placebo power. So when you're popping that aspirin or you're popping that ibuprofen, it has physiological effects on you, but also a large percentage of the impact on your body is, what is your brain saying? And I always kind of relate these kind of conversations to, if you've ever watched Dumbo growing up, Dumbo didn't need that feather to fly. He didn't. It wasn't a magic feather. It was just a silly feather that gave him that courage or the mindset to say, I can do anything. This thing can give me what I need. And that's what happens a lot with pharmaceuticals and what's happening with over-the-counter medication. The article goes on to say that 67% of all over-the-counter medications, such as headache remedies, cough remedies, appetite suppressants, are also placebo-based. So it's wild, wild, wild. It's just very, very interesting to think about the impact of our mindset over the actual nutrients that we're putting in our body. So let's talk about this really quick. So once you've had a sweet or a treat or something that you deemed as bad or something that you shouldn't have put in your body, a lot of times what happens is people say, well, the whole day is shot. I'm just going to eat like crap the rest of the day. Or if it's Friday, then they're like, I'm just going to eat like crap over the whole weekend and I'll start fresh on Monday. Well, let me tell you, your body doesn't know what day of the week it is. And it's there and ready for you to reset at any time. So I call this balancing the equation. And this is an idea that comes from Woman Code. This is written by Elisa Vitti, and she's brilliant. This book in particular is about cycle syncing and syncing food, your physical activities, and your connection with people and community, syncing that with the energetic activity of your female cycle, of your menstrual cycle. This is an amazing book. So many good takeaways. I use it as a reference tool. But this is one of the main takeaways from, there's this part of the book where she talks about slip ups. So what if I had alcohol? What if I had a lot of sugar? What if I had a lot of carbohydrates or skipped a meal? What are the impacts of the endocrine system on my body? And how can you counteract it? I mean, our body is this ever evolving, changing thing. Once you've eaten, like, let's say a cupcake, it doesn't mean sudden death. There are things that we can do to mitigate the discomfort that it's creating in your body. So first things first, do not skip your lifelong vitality. If you're indulging around the holiday season, around, let's say you're going to like barbecues during the summer months, sometimes it's great for you to abstain and you can listen to your body and decide to do that. But if you're enjoying a treat, don't worry, your body can bounce back. You have this amazing ability to come back to homeostasis, and your body's always wanting to do that. So don't skip your lifelong vitality. B vitamins, which you have basically a B complex in your lifelong vitality multivitamin, it takes some of the strain off of your adrenals. So we're talking MetaPower, right? So everything's about insulin, blood sugar spikes, all of this. This is your endocrine system. This is not just your digestive system. Anything that involves a hormone like insulin is impacting all of your endocrine glands and your endocrine system in general. So there's going to be a strain on some of the other hormone producing organs of the body, including your adrenals. B vitamins help to mitigate that adrenal fatigue, and that can be really, really supportive once we've indulged. So another thing is having Mito 2 Max on hand. I always have it in the house, and it's not something that I use regularly, but this is another one that can help support your adrenals, which are heavily impacted by sugar intake, by carbohydrate intake. And one of the main ingredients, quercetin, is an anti-inflammatory that calms your body's inflammatory response. And that's one of the things that we want to be concerned about too when our blood sugar spikes, is that impact that it has on a cellular level, where cells are aging quickly, right? So this is going to reduce a lot of that as well. And if we're talking about food, so at your next meal, adding 2 tablespoons of flaxseed to speed up transit time. So this is about making sure that your body's flushing out waste. So anything that's accumulating in our colon through the process of removing toxins from the body, if we're not eliminating regularly once a day or more, anything less than once a day is constipation, then you really, really want to make sure that you're flushing this stuff out and mitigating any sort of constipation or backup. Because what happens is those toxins sit in your colon if you're not eliminating, and they get reintroduced to the body. So they reabsorb through the lining of the colon into your bloodstream, and then your filter organs have to clean it out again. So that's icky. That's a strain on your body. We don't want that. So we want to be eliminating as much as possible. And a couple of recommendations here. Flaxseed's incredible. I always have ground flaxseed in the house, and you can add that to salads. You can put it in your smoothies. You can even just drop it in a cup of water and drink it with your collagen if you wanted to. We also have the fiber, which has flax in it, as well as other non-soluble fibers that help to clean out your colon. I take magnesium every night, and it helps with having a complete bowel movement early in the morning. Very easy, no strain. It's something you can consider. Just in general, adding more fiber to your diet. Apples are high in fiber. Leafy green vegetables are high in fiber. The less sweet vegetables are going to have a lot of fiber in them for you. So that's really helpful as well. And if we're just maintaining good digestion, my recommendazymes are Terrazyme PB Assist, and then the peppermint enteric soft-coated or soft gels, enteric coated soft gels are a lifesaver for me anytime I'm having lower GI discomfort, pain, or any sort of constipation or bloat. I pop one of these peppermint pills, and because of the coating, enteric means of the intestine. So that just means that it doesn't dissolve or digest until it passes the stomach acid and gets down into your intestines. And that's where we're having a problem with constipation. It's not in the stomach. So if it digests in the stomach, we're going to lose its potency and its efficacy. But this just disperses in the colon and alleviates constipation. It's incredible. And I used to have a lot of lower GI pain, and it was a godsend. So that's awesome. Another dietary recommendation post indulging in a lot of carbohydrates or sugars is having a lot of healthy fats, maybe like a handful of nuts, some nut butter, and avocados, and that just helps to stabilize your blood sugar. So those are things you can do after the fact. It doesn't have to be, I ruined everything when you have a sweet treat. You always have this ability to bring the equation back into balance. All right, so other things that can be supportive too, and let's just get this straight. I'm not recommending that every time you have something sweet, you have to go for a run around the block, or you have to torture yourself at the gym because you indulged. That's not what this is about. This is about having knowledge about what's happening in your body when you do indulge. The thing that makes it really easy for me what to do next is to remember that carbohydrates are energy. We are consuming energy, and if we don't use that energy, it gets stored as fat for use later on. And if we just know that, then we need to make sure we remember to use that energy. So something that you can implement is little burst activities. So an example for like a treadmill or a walk outside would be walking at a brisk clip for about 2 minutes and then sprint at your max capacity for 30 seconds. And then you go back to your 2 minutes of brisk walk and then sprint for 30 seconds. This type of burst activity allows you to burn up that glucose that's being stored in your muscles. Now, remember from previous presentations that glucose gets stored in your muscles for more immediate use, for use during that day. So if you store up your muscles with the glucose and then you continue to have glucose, but you're not very active, that glucose is going to hang out in your bloodstream. And that means that you're elevating your blood sugar. So you got to burn that off. And one way you can do that is using these burst activities. Another thing you can do is just climbing your stairs in your home, going for a walk in general, just moving your body, displacing that glucose that's in your blood and putting it to use. Otherwise, it has to be managed, right? And our liver goes to work and it stores it as fat. And that's just the nature of the beast. That's what happens. So making sure you're using your body. If you're going to put fuel in the tank, you then have to use the fuel or it causes other undesirable things that we can actually manage. So I love this idea of knowledge is power. I know what's going on in my body. And that means that I can decide what to do next. How do I balance the equation? How do I move forward so that the one cupcake that I had doesn't define my life? So I don't know if that's helpful. I hope that you are taking this information and realizing that there's so much more freedom in what we put in our body when we know more about what's going on with our body. The other thing that I wanted to mention too is our MetaPower supplements are incredible. I've seen the results on my continuous glucose monitor. A good example is if I've forgotten to take my MetaPower Assist, and well, if I haven't taken it before a carb-laden meal, then sometimes I'll wind up taking it a couple bites in because I will have remembered. I'm sure you guys are experiencing this too. Or I'll take it afterwards. And what I'm seeing on the continuous glucose monitor is that you see the blood sugar start to rise. And then once I metabolize the MetaPower Assist, it flattens out. The glucose curve plateaus, and then it starts to come back down. And that's another great tool that we have so that we can indulge. And we do have tools. We do have knowledge and lifestyle choices that we can make so that we don't have our lives defined by a couple sweets that we had when we were hanging out with people we really love. So I hope you take that to heart. And I'm open to any questions, or if you want to share, please do. This is a community environment, and we're all learning and growing and experiencing all these amazing new products together for the first time. And I'd love to hear what you have to say. So take care, and thank you so much, and wishing you lots of luck on this journey. Have a good one.